Hey everybody, Melissa here. So today we're going to be in Excel and I'm going to show you how to concatenate data. Now concatenate means to link, join, or combine, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to take data that is in multiple columns and combine it into one column. So let's go ahead and get started. So I have some employee data here that has the employee ID, whether they're full-time or part-time, their first name and their last name. And let's just say I want to combine their first name and last name into one column. So if we go to E2, go to Insert Function, and I'm going to type in CONCAT and tell it to go. Now it's going to bring up Concat and Concatenate. They're the same thing, so I just use Concat. Now you're going to see in our function arguments we have text1 and text2. Well, text1 and text2 is what are we combining? Well, we're combining C2, tab, and we're combining D2. Now look down here in your preview. It has combined those, but there is no space. If we need to put spaces in between what is coming out of our columns, then we need to put the space into our function argument. And how we do that is quote, space, quote, and tab. And then put in our D2. And if you look at your preview, Heidi, space, O'Brien, and tell it OK. And now it has concatenated or combined C and D into E. Now if we come over here, double click, it carries it all the way down. Now let's say we want to create a new employee ID that contains their entire employee ID, whether they're full-time or part-time, the first three letters or characters of their first name, and the first three letters or characters of their last name. And we want that to go into column F. Now what we're going to do is we're going to concatenate, but we've got to take some extra steps. So I'm not going to use the insert function. I'm going to manually input our function arguments. Now this is a little complicated, but don't worry. If you look down in the description, I have put the function down there for you to go along with this video. So we're going to do equal, and we're going to type in concat, and we're going to open our parentheses. Now what are we combining? Well, we know that we want the entire employee ID, so we're going to click on A2, comma. We know that we want the type. We're going to click on B2, comma. Now we said we only want the first three letters or characters of their last name, so we're going to open up our parentheses. Now if you're looking at this cell, we want the first three from the left. So we're going to type in left, open our parentheses from C2, comma, and we want the first three. And we're going to close our parentheses, and then we're going to close them again, because the first one closed this one, and this one closed the first left. Now we're going to put a comma, because now we want the first three letters of their last name. So we're going to open our parentheses again, and we're going to type left, because it's from the left, parentheses, from D2, comma, we want the first three. Okay, put this over here. We're going to close our first set of parentheses, which closes these. Our second set closes these, and our last set closes the entire function argument. So hold your breath and let's hit enter and see what happens. I'm just kidding, it'll work. There you go. I had faith. Okay, so 139 is their employee ID. Full-time, HEI, O apostrophe B. Perfect. Double click, and it pulls it down to all your employees. So now let's say that we want a new employee ID, and we still want the employee ID, we still want the full-time or part-time, but let's just say that we want the last three of the first name and the last three of the last name. So we could come over here and pull this over, but watch what happens. If we double click on it, it has shifted everything to the right. So instead of starting in A2, it starts in B2, then C2, D2, and E2. So if we hit enter and look, instead of starting with the 139, it has started with the employment status of full-time. Then it's pulled the entire name, part of the first name or last name, and part of the full name. That's not what we want. So let's go ahead and do this manually. Equal concat, open our parentheses, and again, we want the entire employee ID, comma, the entire type, comma. Now, since we want the last three, we want to type right. Open our parentheses from C2, comma. We want three characters or letters. And we're going to close this out, do a comma, open it again. We're going to do another right. And this time it's going to be D2, comma, 3. Then we're going to close our first set out, second set out, and third set out. Okay, hold your breath. Let's see if it works. I'm kidding, it'll work. There you go. So now it's done your 139, your F, your IDI, and IEN. Now if we double click, it carries it all the way down. So now let me just show you in here. Let's just say that you wanted the first three of the first name and the last three of the last name. If you just go in here and make this left, now it's changed it to HEI-IEN. And then it will carry it down to all of them. And again, I know this is a complicated function, but don't worry. Look down in the description. The function is there. And that's how you use the concatenate function to combine, link, or join data in Excel. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content like this in the future, please be sure to subscribe to my channel before you go. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions for future content, drop me a comment, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Until then, thanks so much for watching.